Can a machine think? A simple question. An academic question, you might assume. But what if it wasn't? What if it was a desperate plea? A cry from a man who spent his life building a world of logic, only to be broken by the one machine he could never solve: human society. Imagine dedicating your entire existence to creating intelligence, only to have your own mind declared a disease. Imagine saving millions of lives, only to have your own life systematically dismantled by the very people you saved. This is not a story about success. Not yet. This is a story that begins at the end. With a man, a genius, facing a choice between prison or the chemical destruction of his own body. He made his choice, and it destroyed him. So here is the question that will hang over everything we explore today. How do you find the will to create when the world is trying to erase you? The man we're talking about is Alan Turing. If you're using a computer or a smartphone to listen to this, you are living in the world he imagined. He is, without exaggeration, the father of theoretical computer science and artificial intelligence. During World War II, his work at Bletchley Park cracking the German Enigma code was the single greatest contribution to the Allied victory, shortening the war by years and saving an estimated 14 million lives. He was a marathon runner, a brilliant mathematician, a philosopher of the future. His success was monumental, world-changing. And yet, his life ended in tragedy. At age 41, a forgotten hero, prosecuted for being a homosexual. The traditional narrative is simple: a brilliant man tragically destroyed by an intolerant society. It's true, but it's lazy. It doesn't honor the complexity of his mind. It doesn't explain the why. So, our big question today is not, what did Alan Turing achieve, but rather, what fundamental misunderstanding of the world fueled both his genius and his destruction? The answer isn't about code breaking or algorithms. It's about a deeply ingrained philosophy that most of us share, and one that can become our greatest prison. Forget the war hero. Forget the Cambridge professor. Let's go straight to the winter of 1952, to the moment of absolute collapse. Turing is not in a lab. He's in a cold, sterile courtroom. His crime? Gross indecency. He had a male lover, and when his house was burgled by an associate of that lover, Turing, with a naive faith in justice, reported it to the police. During the investigation, he openly, almost academically, admitted to his relationship. He saw no reason to lie about a simple fact. The system he put his faith in didn't just fail him. It turned on him. The verdict was guilty. The choice: prison or organotherapy, chemical castration, a weekly injection of synthetic estrogen designed to neutralize his libido. To cure him, let's analyze the pain here. It wasn't just humiliation. For Turing, his mind was everything. It was a finely tuned instrument, a cathedral of pure logic. The hormone injections created profound physical changes, but the real terror was psychological. He described his mind becoming clouded, the fog, the inability to focus. The very tool that defined his existence, the engine of his self-development, was being systematically poisoned. He was being forced to beta test his own destruction. This was the ultimate betrayal. He felt his clarity slipping away. What was the critical mistake in that moment? It wasn't reporting the burglary. It was a deeper error in calculation. He believed that the world, like his mathematical proofs, operated on a system of verifiable truths and logical consequences. He presented the truth, expecting a logical outcome. He failed to see that human systems are not built on logic. They are built on fear, prejudice, and unwritten rules. And in this, we find his unexpected enemy. It wasn't the judge. It wasn't the law. Turing's greatest enemy was the illusion of a rational world. He was the master of formal systems, of games with clear rules, chess, cryptography, mathematics. But he was a novice in the one game that mattered for his survival, the chaotic, irrational, emotional game of human society. He kept trying to make a logical move in an illogical game, He thought he was playing chess, but society was playing poker, with hidden cards and bluffing, and his inability to see this cost him everything. He was a genius who couldn't read the room, a man with an unparalleled mindset for patterns in machines, but a tragic blind spot for the patterns in people. So what's the lesson here? Be careful who you trust? Society can be cruel? No. That's too simple. The real, counterintuitive lesson is this. Your greatest strength, when misapplied, becomes your most profound weakness. Turing's logical purity was a superpower in mathematics and code breaking. It allowed him to see what no one else could. But when he applied that same logical purity to the messy, emotional world of human law and prejudice, it became a fatal liability. He couldn't comprehend a system that would punish a truth. This is a wake-up call for anyone who believes their intelligence is their only necessary tool. For anyone who thinks that having the right answer is enough, it's not. You have to understand the system you're operating in. You have to develop the emotional intelligence to know when to play by the rules of logic and when to play by the rules of people. Now, let's rewind. Not to his childhood, but to his moment of greatest philosophical insight, his 1950 paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence. This is where he proposed the imitation game, now famously known as the Turing test. The question, can machines think, was paralyzing everyone. It was too big, too philosophical. It got stuck in endless debates about consciousness and souls. Turing, with his unique gift for strategic thinking, did something brilliant. He changed the question. He said, forget trying to define thinking. Let's create a practical test. Can a machine, through a text-based conversation, fool a human into believing it is also human? If it can, for all practical purposes, it has achieved intelligence. This reveals his core philosophy. Don't get trapped by impossible definitions. Redefine the problem into a game you can actually win. This is the essence of an abundance mindset applied to intellectual problems. Don't focus on what you can't define. Focus on what you can achieve. It's a powerful tool for any kind of study, motivation, or personal project. But this incredible strength had a shadow side. This is where we apply the flaw spotlight. Turing's gift for abstracting problems into formal systems made him notoriously awkward with people. He struggled with small talk, with social cues, with the unwritten rules of daily interaction. It wasn't arrogance. It was that his brain was constantly running on a different operating system. He was trying to find the logical algorithm behind a joke or a polite greeting. This wasn't just a quirky personality trait. It was the same blind spot that would later lead him to naively report his personal life to the police. He could design a test for artificial intelligence, but he was constantly failing the unwritten imitation game of everyday human society. He was so busy trying to figure out how to build a thinking machine that he never quite mastered the art of being a social human. His personal discipline was immense in his work, but that discipline didn't translate into social navigation. He needed to stay hard in a world that demanded softness. So how can we use Turing's genius without falling into his trap? We can turn his unique philosophy into a practical formula for our own lives. Let's call it the Turing filter. It's a 3-step process for tackling overwhelming problems. Step 1. Reframe the question. Stop asking, how can I find my passion? Or, how can I be happy? These are too big. They're undefinable. Instead, ask a practical, testable question. What is one activity I can do this week that I might lose track of time in? Or, what is one thing I can do today that is 1% better than yesterday? You're changing the game from an impossible philosophical debate into a series of achievable SMART goals. Step 2. Identify the operating system. Before you act, ask yourself, what system am I in right now? Is this a logical system, like my budget, my code, my workout plan, where data and truth are king? Or is this a human system, like a negotiation with my boss, a fight with my partner, a networking event where emotion, perception, and unwritten rules are dominant? Step 3. Choose the right tool. Don't bring a calculator to a poetry reading. Don't use raw logic to solve an emotional crisis. Acknowledge that navigating a human system requires different tools: empathy, listening, awareness of social cues. This isn't about being fake. It's about being effective. It's about developing the emotional intelligence that Turing tragically lacked. This is the path to real self-development. Let's go back to where we started. That cold room, that impossible choice, and that haunting question: can a machine think? We now see the devastating irony. In his final years, Alan Turing was forced to play a cruel version of his own imitation game. The British establishment was the interrogator, and Turing, the subject, was being tested on whether he could successfully imitate a normal 1950 seconds man. He couldn't. He was too honest, too logical, too fundamentally himself. The machine society tried to build the cured, normal Turing was a failed project. And in the process, they broke the beautiful, original mind. His question was no longer academic. It was the prophecy of his own life. The world demanded he become a machine that could imitate them, and he refused. His story is a tragedy, but his legacy is our ultimate motivational tool. It teaches us that the goal of life isn't to become a perfect, logical machine. The goal is not to have all the answers, or to operate with flawless efficiency. Perhaps the goal is to be grateful for our messy, illogical, and profoundly human code. To embrace the bugs in our own system, our flaws, our emotions, our eccentricities, because that is where our true genius, our creativity, and our humanity reside. The true path to an abundance mindset is not the elimination of flaws, but the acceptance of them. True discipline is not just about forcing yourself to work. It's having the discipline to be kind to yourself when you fail, to stay hard against external pressure, but soft with your own imperfect heart. So, how do you find the will to create when the world is trying to erase you? You realize you are not a machine to be programmed. You are a story to be written, and you hold the pen. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, I want you to tell me about a time your own illogical humanity was your greatest strength. Subscribe for more stories that decode the blueprint of the human spirit. Until next time, stay human.